And you see this remains an extraordinarily dangerous pandemic. We have social distanced. We've been responsible. And because of it, we bent the curve. But this is not the time for the Trump administration or for lackeys that go on news shows to talk about how he was joking and to suggest that their cases are only going up because of more testing. It's, again, he's running against a pandemic. The pandemic's always going to win. David Drucker, you know, even before this rally, you had said that this was going to be more than a rally. It was going to be the relaunching, the dramatic relaunching of Donald Trump's reelection campaign. Where is Trump? Where is Pascal? Where is Kushner? Where are the people that are running the campaign this morning? How do they think things went so badly? And what is their next step forward?
Yeah, Joe, it was so interesting because the Tulsa rally came back one day.
We're having trouble with David's sound. Hey, Alex,
fix that up.
Can you fix David's sound and we'll get back to him? Bob Costa, I ask you the same thing. So what's next for this campaign, and how do they continue
these key players?
How do they continue to run a campaign in the middle of a pandemic where the numbers keep going up in certain hot spots, like states like Florida, Arizona, states he has to win, and he seems to keep denying the reality of it all?
There's actually a point of tension, Joe, within the Trump political circle about what is next. As I said, they're talking logistically about, do you continue to go to arenas because of the health concerns and the challenges you have in filling an arena? The other debate that's happening around President Trump is this: where to actually go, because in going to Tulsa in Oklahoma, you're going to a red state, and the president's eyeing a trip to Alabama, a trip to Phoenix. Phoenix, of course, is a real swing state, important Senate race in that state for both parties. But why go to Tulsa, some Trump advisors are privately asking? Why go back to Alabama? Yes, you could get a bigger crowd in a traditionally red state, but what's the political advantage? You look at Vice President Pence's own travel. He's rarely going to red states. He's going to battleground states like Iowa and Michigan and Wisconsin.
So, David Drucker, I'll ask you that question again. What's next? Just a disaster of a political rally. He was actually out fundraised by Joe Biden last month, and he's down double digits in the last few national polls that have come out, especially the Fox poll.
Right. So, you know, it was such an interesting contrast. A year ago in Orlando, he packs a rally. They have an all-day festival outside the arena that was packed with a lot of enthusiastic supporters, where they did actually address the overflow crowd, not the president or the vice president, but Pascal and Don Jr. And here in Tulsa, you have a completely different scene. And the irony of all of this is when the pandemic forced political activity underground and made it all virtual, if you will, the Trump campaign actually rolled really well with a lot of virtual online programming and virtual door knocking. And they've been pretty pleased with the success of that. And in the battleground states, the polling is a lot closer than the national polls. But for the president, these live rallies with the physical crowds are so important to him. This became a very big deal, and it's the only thing they're talking about now, where the campaign could easily shift to smaller events, different sort of events where the president could still get outside of the White House without putting people in jeopardy and having to deal with fears by people who are going to be afraid to show up to some of these events, even though they're still going to show up to vote. And if the president's not careful, the entire campaign becomes one about him not able to match his own boasts versus being able to shift some attention to Joe Biden. And I think the campaign is going to have to make a decision with the president in charge, obviously, because he always micromanages this stuff, exactly how important these crowds are. And if they're willing not to pivot in message, because there's only one speed for him and there's no such thing as a pivot, but at least for the optics and for their own psyche of the campaign, and a campaign psyche is so important in a competitive race, if they're willing to shift in the kinds of events they do and accept the reality of the pandemic, and if they're able to do that and not get caught up in this circular firing squad, they can actually be just fine so far as it goes, given how competitive the race is in Florida, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, compared to nationally, where the president is obviously very deep underwater.
So, Jonathan,